Good evening and greetings, and welcome to Life Sciences of Washington, How to Eat to Live Facebook channel, and natures-v.com. Tonight, again, we're here with biomedical research scientist and engineer, Mr. Victor Muhammad. How are you today, Mr. Muhammad?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well also, sir, and I'm ready to take on this topic that you and I had quite a concern with as it relates to the cost of deadly consequences of the ill-advised health advice in the African and African American communities in 2024 going into 2025. In our discussion that we had prior to us making this broadcast tonight, you and I were discussing some topics, and those topics, as a biomedical research scientist and engineer, one who deals with health at that level, highly concerned you, and you wanted to be able to My apologies to our viewing audience for the technical difficulties. As I was stating, Mr. Muhammad, you wanted to discuss the ill advised health information that the people are getting from their doctors. And we're seeing this ill advised information costing people their lives. Please start with your number one concern as it relates to this as a biomedical research scientist and engineer, and the correlation between the information that the people are getting, the advice that they're getting, and the reason their health is in the condition that it's in, Mr. Mann.
Well, as I travel to different parts of the world, I see that there is a strong relationship and strong similarity between Africa, the continent, and the African American, those who are descendants of slaves. The conditions that each of the populations face are almost identical. When you study the countries that make up the continent called Africa and the inner INNER workings of that continent and the individual countries, I believe it's 54 of them. And then you study the African American and the realities regarding health disparities, and health inequalities. You find that they're almost identical. When you see the diseases such as malnutrition, obesity, you don't find much obesity in Africa, but you do find uh, heart disease. You find alarming rates of infant mortality. You find alarming rates of women dying during birth, giving birth. You find alarming cases of diabetes and just diseases like that, common diseases from different types of infections, malaria. And when you come to the African American community, you find uh, almost the identical sets of diseases. And the thing that causes concern for me, because I travel between both populations, and the thing that causes some concern for me to the degree that I believe that it's necessary that we now have a conversation regarding it is the amount of information and advisement that the people receive in both situations. We have people in leadership who make decisions on the health of the people under their charge. And these people make these decisions and give advice. And some of the advice that they give, that is given, is not so much scientific or medical as much as it is political. And we have people who are in political positions that are giving guidance to people regarding their health. And these people are not scientists, they're not health professionals, they're, they're political people. They are people who operate in an administrative capacity. I'll give you an example. We have had supplements that we have presented to America and the world for the last 30 years. The success of these supplements speak for themselves. A short investigation into these supplements and anyone can see that the results of the supplements speak for themselves, because anything that is the truth, you don't have to argue for it. It will speak for itself. And if it's not the truth, that will also speak. But you have situations, let's say here in America and perhaps other countries, but excuse me, but definitely here in America, where people give advice or instruct people not to take the supplement, not to uh, not to interact with me or those who uh, administer or make available to the public the supplements that we sell or we market, and people in leadership advise the people not to interact with me, not to acquire the supplement, and they're not given a reason. They just tell them not to do it. And because of the, I guess, the social level of development of the people, a great number of them listen and follow that guidance. And in the last 5 years alone, there have been people who have contacted us and they were interested in acquiring the supplements because they had different ailments, some of them cancer, some of them other diseases. And we did not diagnose them. They had been diagnosed by their primary care physician. And the person, after they spoke with us, they consulted those who may have been in leadership over them. They advised them that they should not interact with me or us, not for the efficacy of the supplement, not because the supplement did not work, but because they may have had a political disagreement with me. They may have had a social disagreement with me, or in one instance, there is a man or person who works closely with me. And because some people have a disagreement with that individual, they advise others not to interact with me because they don't like someone who's associated with me. Now, generally, I don't get into social and political areas. I stay with math and science because those are things that politics or religion or feelings don't affect. Nothing affects mathematics. And true science is verified by mathematics. And if you hate 2 plus 2, it's still going to equal 4. If you love 2 plus 2, it still equals 4. And that's the premise. That's the way you have to make decisions. You have to make decisions that are based on facts, not politics, not religion, not feelings, not emotions. And when you travel to Africa, you find that people are given false information and people are dying from illnesses or abnormalities that could possibly could possibly be rectified by something as simple as aspirin, but yet people are dying. So the point that I was making a few minutes ago was that here in America, there have been people over the last 5 years, Mr. Muhammad, who have contacted us. They wanted our help. They had heard about the supplement. And before we could help them, they contacted someone or someone contacted them, advised them that they should not interact with us, not because the supplements didn't work, not because the supplements were not efficacious, but because they had a political disagreement with us. And then later, we received phone calls, and I believe you have too, Mr. Muhammad. We received phone calls that the person had died. And
That's
that
correct.
has happened at least 20 times just in the last 5 years. And I thought that it was time that we address that because people are allowing their personal feelings, people are allowing politics to cause them to advise people on information that's costing people their lives. So I think it's time that we say to the public not just African Americans, not just Africans, but any human being on this earth. We are saying to you that you have to stop allowing your care and your health to be influenced by people's political positions, people's social understanding, and people's feelings, because people are losing, literally, people are literally losing their life because they're listening to people give them information and advice that have nothing to do with science, have nothing to do with medicine, have nothing to do with their health. That's the premise that I wanted to introduce, Mr. Muhammad, and wanted to share with you.
Thank you for that. And you saying that leads me to the advice that those are that is being given by those who are advising a lot of the people are not of the scientific community. Some are not even of the medical community. Some are just, people who have stumbled upon something that they understand may or may not work. Um, I think that when we look into this, as you are, we have to begin to give a clearer picture of what it is that you know of science and what it is that you're bringing to the table, because obviously nothing has changed on the other side. Nothing has changed with regards to the efficacy of the treatments that they're getting. However, they are still going along with these deleterious treatments on until their death because of the advice that they're given, even from their doctors. So, that being the case, and talking to our audience, because you do intend for them to not be subject to this ill advice that they're getting, how do we break that cycle with them? Or is that even possible?
It's possible because there is a change that is has there is change that has come upon the earth, and that change is weeding the kind of people who are misleading the public. These people are being weeded out, and in time we won't have to be concerned with them. But the problem is the number of people that whose death they may have caused before they themselves are weeded out and removed. And what we, the thing that we are doing now is attempting to lessen the number of people who will become victims of this kind of plague, because um, what kind of mindset can be so diabolical that you will know and have firsthand knowledge that something works and that something can possibly save the life of another human being. But because you have a political disagreement or a social disagreement, or you may just not even like the person or persons, but that has nothing to do with the effectiveness of something that can help a person and save their life. Why would you advise someone not to go to someone who can help them? Why would you advise people to do that, Mr. Muhammad?
Just to bring some lighter understanding to this, because it is a serious question. Could it be that their belief in the system of medicine, they yet don't have an understanding that there is no cure in that for some that are being advised, that still needs to be made clear, and others are being advised by people who believe the same thing. And most of those are in these positions of advising. So they tend to advise them right back to the environment that you're saying that they cannot, well, we know that they cannot find any help in. And the direction of their health will only be worsened by going to the treatment that the doctor has arranged for them. So that psychosis is what we're dealing with.
There are people I've known since we were in graduate school back in 1986. And they have medical doctors in their family. Some of them are married to medical doctors. And when I when they have conversations with me and they ask me what is it that I'm doing now? And I tell them. And I speak the truth about the medical establishment. And there are people who don't talk to me anymore. They didn't talk to me on the truthfulness
Right,
of what I said. They
right,
didn't ask me uh, to prove what I said. They didn't have any discussions with me. They didn't say, "Well, why do you believe that way, Victor? What is it that causes you to say the things about medicine and medical doctors that you say?" They didn't do any of that. No one does. And when some people do engage me in conversation, such as medical doctors, they submit and they admit that I'm telling the truth. I was recently on a flight to Africa in early November, and I was talking with another person on the flight sitting next to me about HIV/AIDS. And there was a medical doctor sitting in the row ahead of us, listening to the conversation unbeknownst to me. And he engaged me in conversation and began asking me questions about the different things that I was talking with the initial gentleman regarding. And he wanted to justify medicine. But after about a 30-minute conversation with this medical doctor, he submitted. He submitted to the efficacy of what I was saying. Now, uh, some people won't do that. They won't engage in conversation. And I can't help if the things that I say are a person dislike them because I only deal with science. I only deal with the facts, not my emotion, not religion, not politics, only the facts. And when you stick to the facts, Mr. Muhammad, and you do not place your emotions in it, then people who know that they have a baseless argument, they won't say anything. You see, and so uh, the only thing that we can do is what we're doing right now. And in time, uh, you can see that people are slowly awakening. But the thing that frightens me
yes, sir.
is the number of people who are going to lose their life or who have already lost their life and before these people are removed from having authority over the people to not give them medical advice, but outright just tell them, don't contact him, Mr. Muhammad.
Well, that's unfortunate, but that is a reality. And the most important part is it's a reality that we understand. And we understand that there are people who need what you have to offer them and giving them help for uh, maintaining them lives. We don't normally go into a lot of conversation about the efficacy of the supplements. However, I think that that might be part of the issue also, um, because many people don't understand the science behind the supplement that you've created. And I want to ask a question, a leading question, as it relates to that. It's sometimes difficult to get people to understand that there's something outside of what the medical uh, industry presents to them as an answer to their issues. But in the case of your supplement, we have what, almost 60 years of proof of its efficacy in so many different environments, dealing with so many issues. Can you explain how the supplement actually allows for all of these cascade of things to take place because of how it works with the physiology of the body, so people can better understand that you might be here for one thing, but because of how the body works, you're really warding off another thing that's coming in the future. And I think that sometimes, people go, hey, it's too good to be true. And people kind of sell that too. So can you help them better understand why it's important that they know about your supplement, use your supplement for what's going on in their body, and why it works?
In 1955, the first report of these proteins were published, and it was made known to the world, this new discovery. Now, these these particular molecules are not new. They've been around since there were human beings. But in the Western world, they were isolated and identified in 1955. Very little was done with it to our knowledge. Well, very little that we know to the known world was done with it. I believe that there has been a lot of research done to test these molecules, and they were found to be very effective. But the thing about these particular molecules is that you can't own them, and anything that cannot be owned, you cannot control it. And part of capitalism is having a monopoly. And anything that you want to market, you really want to have a monopoly on it, at least for a time. But because these particular molecules cannot be controlled, then you can't have a monopoly. And if you can't have a monopoly, then you really don't want to put it into the market because you can't make as much money. You can make money, but you can't make as much money as if you had a monopoly. So I believe that this is one of the reasons that this these particular proteins have really never been marketed. But if something works, and it has been made known since 1955 to the Western world of science and medicine that these particular molecules do work in boosting the immune system of both humans and animals. This has been known since 1955. You can find it in the scientific journals. And if it's been known since 1955, but yet no one except me have really used it, then why is that? You see, well, part of it is what I just said. You can't own it, you can't control it, and therefore the scientific world and the medicine world doesn't want to deal with it. Because if you can go into well, I'll just stick with this particular product. So when this product in the formulation that we use, when it enters the body, It serves as what is called an immune modulator. The thing that makes it an immune modulator, it serves in the capacity similar to that of a general in a military a theater. You'll find the general up on a hill, and the battle is taking place down in the valley. But the general is up on the hill with a set of binoculars, and he's seeing everything that's going on in the war theater. And he's using a walkie-talkie or a telephone to call down to the sergeant or call down to the captain, who relays the message to the lieutenant, and the lieutenant relays the message to the sergeant. And this is how the entire war theater is carried out. Well, this particular protein serves in a similar capacity inside the body. It stands on a mountain in the body, and it takes a look at the entire immune system, and it sends T cells over to this environment to kill the viruses that have invaded the body. It sends the phagocytes and the leukocytes over to deal with the bacteria and the protozoa that have entered the body, and any other kind of microorganism that enters the body. It sits at the heel and direct these things to go and take place and to take particular actions for the immune system inside the human body. And so it's a very powerful molecule, and we've used them, and they have been successful based on the reports that we have received from people who have taken these particular supplements. And what we found in 1993 was that maybe 1993, we found that they were 82% effective in helping HIV/AIDS patients to develop immunity, have increase in T cell levels, have a decrease in viral load, and an increase in appetite. 82% effective. Uh, this is how long we've had these particular proteins in our hands, and I have personally worked with them since November 1994, which, as of last month, made it 30 years that we've had the use of these proteins, and people have been using them that long, Mr. Muhammad.
So over the 30-year period, and you being
Yes,
involved in health and medicine at NIH in the 80s and the 90s, or is that just the 90s?
just the 90s at NIH.
Okay. And that was like early 90s, right?
Yes, sir, 91.
91. So NIH since 1991, and you seeing the field of diseases that have come and caused havoc in the world and in America. Could this protein or molecule have saved many people's lives if they have known about it from this time to that time?
There's absolutely no doubt. I'm not making a medical claim. I'm just making a claim that's based on human physiology and cell biology and immunology. You don't have to be a medical doctor to see what this protein can do. It's in the literature. You get a cell biology book, you get a regular immunology book, and everything that I'm saying is right in a medical immunology book that I did not write. The book that we used at NIH, I still have my immunology textbook that I used at NIH to do some of this research. And you open the textbook and it's right there. The history of these proteins are right in the immunology book. So I don't have to say anything. I can just point you to the book. But but yeah, It's basic information.
So what we have on the screen now is a document that was extrapolated from uh, the uh, the publication sites of NIH at right there. What does it say? NCBI, NIH.gov, and it talks about the proteins that you're speaking about currently, and some of the uses and the time of the uses that it has been in front of the world. And I remember when we first got together and we were talking about, how the things that you knew were beneficial for people to use this molecule for. And you were talking about how it would be more beneficial for people to just use it as something to prepare them for flu season. But there's so many other benefits to it. And on the page that we have, it talks about everything from cold, influenza, warts, ocular herpes, all of these things. And I don't think that many of your viewers have an understanding of how similar these different type of viruses that we come across and deal with our bodies are dealt with by the body, but also relieved by the molecules that you produce. Can you uh, enlighten us so we can better understand why it's very important for us to know these things, and especially as it relates to your product, because the problem is that people don't know.
In the last 30, 33 years, I have seen Ebola, herpes, HIV, SARS, uh, malaria, and bird flu. Uh,
Pneumonia.
well, pneumonia is not viral,
Okay, got you.
but all these particular diseases that are supposed to be viral in nature, including the so called COVID 19. Uh, and when you listen to the news almost 3 times a year in the last maybe 10 years, at least 3 times a year, the, the news is reporting some new outbreak of some viral disease. And they are expecting this trend to continue. And if the number of people who are reported to die from these diseases is going to continue, and if medicine is saying that in some instances or most of the time that that X number of people are going to die, and if these people are going to die from a viral infection, and we say to the people, contact us. We believe that this particular supplement will help you. We have 30 years of proof that the people who took this supplement, most of them are still here, including a large number of them who took this supplement during the so called COVID 19 epidemic or pandemic. And the people who contacted us and chose not to take the supplement, they're not here. These are facts. So, my advice, Mr. Muhammad, which is not medical advice because I'm not a medical doctor, would be if what the media has reported, and I named about 10 different diseases over the last 30 years that uh, is reported to be a viral disease. And according to the news, the media, there are going to be new diseases coming over the horizon. Well, it would probably be a good idea if you were to get in touch with us. Because if medicine is saying that the medication that is available today to treat these infections, that certain number of people are still going to die, well, you might want to contact us.
So quickly, I'm going to ask you a few simple questions. I'm going to state it, but you can just, if you would, just yes or no. Uh, the African American community suffers from what is called giant cell myocarditis, or myocarditis or pericarditis. It's been identified as an infection of the either valves or muscle of the heart. Would these molecules reduce that in people who, because by your understanding?
We have some, we have at least one or two cases where that has been the case. The person contacted us, took the supplement, and it reduced the inflammation around their heart.
Okay. We're talking about people with chronic kidney disease. Some say that diabetes is a autoimmune disease now. Others say that it's an infection or of the kidney. You know better with that. I'm just stating what others say. Can these molecules help with that, or is any proof of that taking place?
There have been people who have contacted us who had renal failure, stage 4 renal failure, and different levels of kidney issues. And some of them have come and done interviews with us where they requested the supplement. We gave it to them. They took it, and when they returned to their nephrologist, they were reported that the renal failure had been reversed. You can actually find those interviews where the person themselves stated this during an interview.
In the case of we dealt with diabetes, we dealt with heart, autoimmune diseases, and the causes of autoimmune diseases. Have there been any findings as it relates to those who are suffering from like a myasthenia gravis or lupus reported to help with those? Those are
Pe-
sicknesses.
People with lupus uh, and this particular protein, or not protein, but amino acid supplement that we have goes back to 1995. We were contacted as far back as 1995 in Washington, D.C., with people who had lupus. They took the supplement, they got better, and they reported back to us that the symptoms that they had prior to taking the supplement had all disappeared. And
You know,
the other diseases, we have similar. We have received similar reports from people who took the supplement, and they report similar results.
I looked into something before I called you today because I was getting ready for the interview and didn't really know what direction to go in because there were so many to go in. The one that really I found profound was that I read an article at NIH that I wanted to ask you about. And it was speaking about these particular proteins. But what really kind of threw me aback, you remember the 1980 March 3rd Time magazine cover that we normally show people with the protein on it, talking about the cure
Yes,
for
sir.
cancer, right?
Hmm.
And so when I read the article today, I hadn't seen it like this, but it was like it helps with any type of cancer. That's basically what it said across their scope of trials with it, that it can retard the growth or the cells of growth as it relates to cancer. You have an extensive background in this supplement and in the field of cancer. Can you give us an understanding of how they come to this conclusion? And are there any efficacies in it? Because nobody's getting it as it relates to cancer.
Well, we learned when I was at NIH, my supervisor and I, because we would get cancer cells from the pathology lab at the hospital from cadavers. And we would grow those tumors in uh, immune compromised mice. And we would review those cancer cells, and what we predicted was that those cancer cells or those cancers were caused by viral infections. Now, the other people at the institute where we were, they disagreed with us, mostly because we were black. Because my supervisor was a black man, and naturally, I'm a black man, and we were the two who made this assertion. About 15 years later, it was reported in some of the scientific journals that cancer, many cancers, were caused by viral infections. So it is a normal progression to deduce that if a person who has a cancer and is given the amino acid supplements that we have, it's only deductive reasoning that it would work, because these particular amino acids are found in the body to fight against viruses. So why wouldn't they work uh, if you give it to a person and that person has a cancer? Why wouldn't it cause a reduction in the cancer?
Yes, sir. Lastly, tonight, from my own research and years of working with you and the researchers that you put me on to help in the work that we're doing here, I have come to see that there isn't any, I'll use COVID. It, we were preparing for cold and flu prior to COVID in a push to get our community off of the flu shot. In light of that, uh, COVID came. And when COVID first was uh, announced to the world, they had announced that these specific proteins were the best treatment for them. However, once we got into the pandemic, you never heard of these proteins before. I mean, afterwards. And now that we're at the end of it, you're starting to hear about them more in publications, but still not in the mainstream media. What would be your advice to us who are striving to get this information out to people, especially to the doctors, because that's where the people are initially going for the help? However, their doctor may not know about it, but they might know about what some of the studies that are going on in the in NIH or other places. So,
I'm sorry, what was your question?
I waited till you put your earpiece back in.
Okay.
So, with that being the case, could you uh, express to our viewing audience the necessity of them to understand the science that you have posted on Life Sciences of Washington's website and Nature's V's website, before they go forward with any type of health advice to a doctor who is maybe not up to par as they should be with regard to this information?
Well, my response to that, Mr. Muhammad, is simple. And it is this: if you're in an automobile accident, if you fall off a building, breaking your leg or something, if you are attacked by a pit bull, or you get gored or run over by a bull, or you're kicked by a horse, I say go to the doctor. I say go to the ER, and if you need surgery, you take it. If you need your knee or your leg mended, no problem. See a physician to get that done. But for the treatment of diseases, for preventive care, I I would be leery of going to a medical doctor for those things, because you must understand the whole premise behind medicine. Remember, medicine is a poison, and the conventional ideology behind medicine is that the benefit from the poison is supposed to outweigh the consequences of the poison. But what you don't understand, more than likely, is that while medicine may not kill you the day that you take it,
Right.
but it will kill you in 10 to 15 years if you continue to use it. So that's the best advice that I can give you. And it's simple, it's direct, it's straightforward.
Thank you very much for your information and this interview tonight. We'd like our viewing audience, if you have any questions or you'd like to see some of the other sicknesses that the supplement uh, will deal with, you can go right to naturesv.com, scroll down on the first page, go down to the place where you see this um, PDF, and you can even download it for yourself. But find out so you'll know what Mr. Muhammad has created that will help us benefit our health, especially in this time, and have a better chance of living through the pandemics that are coming forth. Thank you all for listening. Do you have any closing remarks tonight, Mr. Muhammad?
No, sir.
Thank you all for listening. Greetings and good evening.
Good evening.